C3 ARGB. It is quite pretty. Good afternoon, welcome to Turbo Tortoise Tech. If you're new here, I'm recently 4-piece runs your Triple XL. We have the Antec C3 ARGB on deck. It's a semi-dual chamber type design, but with a twist, but it's not really a dual chamber, but it's kind of a dual chamber, but it's not really, but it's got the same kind of ladder. It's actually, the constructional layout of this case is superb, I have to say. I will say the materials that it's built from could be a little bit better at the price, but then it comes with such a good fan kit that you kind of balance out the value once again. So yeah, TLDR, I do like it. I've kind of got a soft spot for Antec as well, because I had an Antec 900 back in the day and I absolutely loved that case. They had two 120mm fans up front and a big old 200mm up top, extracting another 120 at the back. So it was very, very cool. Very, very strong as well. I may have accidentally dropped it out of the boot of my mother's car and it bounced off the ground and absolutely nothing was wrong. Everything was still working perfectly. And there was just a little tiny little scratch on the front of the face and it literally fell off the boot of a car onto the ground. Unreal. So yeah, this is not quite as bunkery and as well built as that, but you do get a front side glass panel. It's full glass in the front over here and then another full perspex side with the 4 included fans. So you've got a 120mm at the back and then 2 or 3 actually, sorry, miscounting them. It's very hard for me to count without 2, 3, without using my fingers. But those 3 intakes there actually are reverse flow fans. Looking at it completely empty with nothing inside of it, you could see the kind of like what I'm saying, like kind of dual chamber design, because the power supply shroud is still seating everything in another chamber, and one of your 3.5mm drives would also be inside of that sort of isolated area. If we have a look at the bottom, you'll see the standoffs over there, and there's even a front side mesh for that hard drive enclosure, which can be removed, and you can put another 120mm fan on the intake going up like that, which is kind of a nice touch. What I love about this case from a build perspective is actually just this little hole that they left over here by the top of the power supply shroud for your GPU cables to come through. So there's no pressure on them and they look quite neat. You don't have to, have them running from the back all the way around the front of the GPU. It's a nice short little way to connect in your power cables. I love it. I think that's a really nice touch. The RGB is very nice. It's quite well diffused, I've got to say, through the fans. The fan kits, if we have a look at those up close, there's no rubberizing in any of the corners, so they are made a little bit cheaper, but you'll see when we get to the performance, it more than makes up for it. The included spares and stuff with it is also pretty good. You get a bunch of little cable ties with it, enough screws to be able to attach anything you really want to. A big plus with these is they do come with the longer screws for radiators. They come with a full set of spares for that, which is a must just these days. If you're going to have a push-pull type of setup, then you're going to be able to do that. Not that you would really, the dimensioning up top over here for the water cooling kit wouldn't allow you to do that. You'd have to do a push-pull on the side where the included fan kit is. So I honestly wouldn't say that that's the better way to go about things is in the current orientation that we find ourselves here, because those fans, like I said, are reverse flow. So they are pulling in, even though the face plate is open. They've just reversed the blade on those fans to be able to pull into the case. So it's a very, very nice layout as a proposition there to build into. Really, really nice. I would have liked some garrets, however, on some of the ports over here that are coming through the case. Just these ones, mostly on the side over here, I think should have some rubber garrets on them. The ones at the top, you can leave those. The back panel, you don't have a lot of attachment points for cable ties and stuff, but there's enough that you're going to be able to clean up your back panel just fine. And then in the back panel, I've got a nice little close-up there for the included fan controller. So that spits out one addressable ARGB header and then your one 4-pin PWM connector for your fan kit, so that you can connect that into a single header and control all 4 fans from one place. You can obviously do them individually. If you disable or unplug them from their controller, then you can assign them individually, but why would you just keep them all running together in unison? Then obviously we've got the water cooling mount up top, and it's got a nice magnetic mesh over here, so that's going to be nice and easy to clean as well. And then for the intake for that fan wall, it does have a mesh underneath, actually attached to the side panel itself, which has only got runners at the top. You'll notice if I use this one as an example over here, there's only a set of runners up top that would then connect in, and the bottom is just on a shelf type of design. So it is very easy to get that closed, even if your cables are pushing out a little bit, even on the backside. It's very easy to work with, which is a big plus. The only piece of the case that I couldn't reattach was this port cover, and that's just because this 3070 Ti Supreme X is flipping enormous. So layout is pretty good. Constructionally, it's, I would say, 8 out of 10. The materials aren't going to bowl you over for the most of the case. The glass is very good though. It's very thick, and there's nice bits of like double-sided tape, like nice padding foam over here. So it's not going to bash against the case or anything like that. They've thought of all of the right sort of things. And like a touch like this, having this little opening over here, that just is like a massive indicator for me. And I love the little RGB strip over there that you can then link with the rest of your RGB. And it does, I think you'll agree, look very, very pretty. But how does it perform? So our test bench does sit in an open air setup normally, and that's where we run our baselines. So I did that on the morning of Friday last week at about 10 o'clock. So the other tests for the case was then after I'd filmed it and then built into it. So they were run a little bit late in the day. You'll see it actually on the bottom of the AID results. So looking at those at a 50% fan curve, at a lock 50% fan curve, it did very, very well. It was very much within spitting distance. And if we increase that to 100% fan curve, it didn't actually show that much difference. And I'm actually really happy about that, because these fans can get quite rowdy. They do like 1,700 RPM, like on 100% load, which is kind of unreal. Most fans that come pre-included, I see them do like 1,400 RPM. So these are very, very rowdy boys. You can, however, down tune them quite a lot. You can take it to about 30% power input, and then you're looking at like 800 RPM. So, and that's then sort of whispery quiet, about 37 decibels is what we saw on the decibel meter. If I increase that to 50%, it only increases by 2 to 3 decibels, so just under 40. If we increase it slightly further, now things start to get a bit rowdy and you're hitting like mid 40s. And then, yeah, at full chat, you're gonna notice it's a bit of a bull pump. It's gonna hit like 50 decibels. So all in all, what do I think of the Antec C3 ARGB? I love the reverse fan flow. The layout's really good. If you like the way it looks, then it's going to be a no-brainer for you. I think the price is a little bit high, just ever so slightly, like I'd say $100, is just because of the materials, the aluminium that they've used over here. It just doesn't quite compare to some of the other competitors that I've reviewed in that facet. The fan kit is really good for a standard included fan kit, and that really does swing its value, and having 2 glass side panels, it further increases that value. I would still give this a solid like 8.5 out of 10 is basically my gut feeling on it. I really like Antec stuff in general, but it's not like their performance FT1. That was like, honestly, for a premium case, one of the best price versus performances at like a 3,000 Rand case that I've tested. And that's kind of what I'm used to with them. Like I said, with the Antec 900, it was a little bit more premium back in the day, but it came with extra drive cages that you could also remove if you wanted to, and had a lot of flexibility and clever layout and design. And so they've done more of that. And for V2, honestly, what I would just like to see is put some rubberizing on the corners of the fans themselves, just to ensure that they don't rattle with those extreme RPMs that they are pushing. And then just a little bit, like a slightly bit better quality on the building material, the materials used, you know, the aluminium and stuff. Just make it a little bit thicker. Even if it increases the weight of the case a touch, I don't think anybody's going to complain if their case is feeling a little bit more solid and more rigid, and then some garrets, some rubber garrets over there. But if you like the way it looks, you're not going to be hitting major buyer's remorse. The dimensioning is pretty good. This is a very long graphics card and there's still space. If you want, you can get a aftermarket SAG bracket these days for like $200 off of Uncle Eve, and then you'll be able to use that on pretty much any graphics card going forward. So it's not the end of the world, but yeah, there are competitors at this price that have all of those feature sets for the same amount of money. And so it's very difficult to say that it's uber value, but it is very, very pretty. Anywho, that's all I've got for you on the Antec C3 ARGB. If you have enjoyed this review, please do hit us up with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.